What I'm going to talk about in this video is a little bit about semantics, data center security, and how we protect containers in Docker. As we announced at the beginning of September, Symantec now has full support for Docker and monitoring its containers agentlessly. By placing a agent on the actual host, we can monitor everything that is happening in Docker with no footprint within the actual containers. What I'm going to walk you through in this video is talk about visibility. So what this use case is about is containers are very dynamic. They come and go on a regular basis, and that presents problems in security and being able to know what is my current exposure, so what is online and what do I have exposure to. Secondarily, being able to go back in time and answer specific questions about what happened. So in this, since we've been doing this beta early this summer, we've been getting a lot of great customer feedback. And the use case I want to walk you through today is one that a customer brought to us. So the customer called us up and said, containers are new to me. Can you help me understand how Symantec can protect me and help me understand how security works in a Docker environment? The specific scenario they had was their security operations center identified suspicious activity where there was an edge monitoring device that noticed a user performing actions they shouldn't be, and were able to trace it back. So it's interesting, as they traced it back, they talked to the server admin, figured out the IPs, the usual stuff you would expect out of a SOC. But what was surprising to them in this case is it was tracked back to a container. And the security analyst wasn't familiar with this. He asked them, okay, this is a Unix related OS. Here's my standard script. We go out and pull the syslog. We go grab the password files off the system and see what was happening. And what he got back from the system admin is, no, this is a container. It was online, and we have many containers online and offline since that time. And there isn't a syslog. This particular one was a microservice, and it was running specific things connected to another. They suspect it had something to do where somebody within their environment in DevOps had fired up a box of some sort, right? And so they came to us, and the CISO's first is, can you help me understand this and deal with this specific issue? But secondarily is what I learned is this is a team within our company that's building a new mobile app for our customers. It will be available on the web and mobile, and it's going to go live. It will have customer names as well as email addresses stored in its backend database services. How am I going to be able to meet my PCI compliance for this around being able to monitor what's happening on the system, monitor the critical files that are being changed? So what I'm going to do is walk you actually through this use case and how we can help ensure that we know what is online and what it is doing at all times with no presence within the containers themselves. The Docker engineers and DevOps can be spinning up and down whatever containers they need with no knowledge of the underlying security. The security will be just there underneath the covers, monitoring and enforcing security controls. So today, as we focus on the monitoring controls, we're just going to take a look at first it at a high level. So the first thing is under the covers, what we are doing is we are sitting on the host, and everything that's happening, all the various Docker instances which fire up, we're monitoring, able to see what they are and when they were online. So when the SOC analyst comes to you, you will have the ability to say, okay, what time did this happen? What IP? Search, as well as here I can just see the list, what was happening at that time. So here in this case, right, let's just take a look at some of the things. They know what happened at this time and wanted to know what was happening just before that, right? So what we can see is just looking at first at a high level, I can take a look at, what was going on. So if I take and drill in, I can see we had a BusyBox, which is a set of Linux tools, was running, which they started up and then shut down. Then somebody fired up a Debian container and shut it back down. And finally, at the time of interest, somebody fired up and gave an actual named host, which was a CentOS box. So what we're doing with these is not only are we getting the information we can get from the operating system to tell you what's going on, we're also reaching back into Docker and saying, Docker, what's the actual name they use? That you actually instantiate these by saying Docker run, and then you can give it a host name. So in this case, we were able to say, okay, so what was happening on this particular box? I can look at its recent events, what was happening. And here, as soon as this spins up, the security controls you've put in place to monitor critical files, monitor users, and creation of users is all available across your environment. Our goal is to provide a homogeneous security control for all your systems, regardless of what flavor of Linux, what flavor of container is running. So whether I look at this from a BusyBox, Debian, Ubuntu, CentOS perspective, right? If somebody were to come in this case, change usernames, passwords, add users, modify files, I see that monitoring control regardless. So what you're seeing here is I'm able to then go back, see exactly what was happening on the host, see that there was a hello user that went in and created and used VI to create and modify a file, and then continue with that user tracking them through. Additionally, I can search across the environment to say, okay, was hello world in other places, right? It will then search across all the incidents that I'm receiving from my containers as well as my physical servers. And I can see hello was out here, and back on September 28th, they were in creating an account on Bob. I can drill into details and again continue to help the SOC analysts. And this can additionally have fed straight into the SOC analyst tools, as was this customer's design for the long term, where what they want to be able to do is the SOC analyst will have this data at their fingertips with no impact on DevOps and no impact on the security team. It's simply watching and monitoring as they deploy their host. It's just there. Their policy applies whether or not this is running containers or not. If it's got containers, it will provide the data showing them what's happening in the containers. So this series will continue. We'll continue posting regular videos on what we're doing with Docker. Please feel free in the comments to place information that you want us to talk about. So if you have comments on this video, specific use cases around containers, we're currently looking at expanding, and we're working on Cloud Foundry support to where not only will we be able to do this for Docker, but also Warden Garden being managed by Cloud Foundry, as we're seeing it in the market as well. So we'd appreciate your input and making this a discussion. Thank you.